Alright YouTube, here I have the Dell Mini 9. The Inspiron 9. So it's called the 9 because it's got a 9-inch screen on it, and I have taken a few days to play around with this. I'm actually fixing it for a friend, and it's in the process of shutting down. But we'll go around, take a tour. Let's do that first. So over on the left hand side here, we have a Kensington lock port, your power charger cord, which is actually really nice. It's kind of like a cell phone cord. It's really small, definitely not big and bulky like the HP Pavilion or Dell Latitude series power cords. Two USB 2.0, and then your SD, MS Pro, and MMC media card reader. Over on the front, there really isn't anything to speak of. That's alright. On the left, Ethernet, VGA, USB 2.0, and a vent. There's actually not a fan, but that does let air to breathe, or let the PC to breathe. And then there's your headphone out, 3.5mm, and your microphone. On the back is just where it hinges. So let's turn it over. And here's how you take the battery out. Use these two little clips. You pull them away from the battery, and then push it right out the back door. It's a 4-cell. It lasts just as long as the 6-cell in my HP Pavilion. That lets you see the Dell logo and then your stereo speakers. Well, we have it turned over. Let's take a look in the hatch here. Might need a screwdriver. There's two screws, one on each side there, and then you can just pop that right up. And here, bottom right, is your wireless card with its antennas 802.11b and G. Here's your solid state drive, which is a PATA. This happens to be the S-Tech model of 8 gig solid state, which means there's no moving parts. Most hard drives have a disk in them that actually rotates around, and then it has a head that reads and writes from it. Here's the RAM. To take RAM out of this, you're going to pull each one of these pins out. It slides up about 40 degrees. Pull it straight out, and then here is your gig of DDR2 PC 6400 800 megahertz RAM. One thing to note, there's only one DIMM, or one bay in here, which I guess they had to do to make it small, which is fine with me. But if you buy this with a gig and you think you're going to put another gig in later, well, that isn't going to work. They sold this with half a gig, 512 meg, or a gig, or 2 gig, and this is the 1 gig configuration. Solid state, which has, you can get 4 gig, 8 gig, 16, or 32 gig. You can buy larger drives, and for that you're going to need a PATA, or PATA drive. So that's pretty much all there is under here. Let's pop the cover back on and push it in a few different places, and there you go. Let's take a look at the BIOS here. We're going to need the battery for that. To get into the BIOS on this computer, it does not have the function keys, or the F keys. Well, it does, but you've got to hit functions A for F1, functions S for F2, and so on, all the way down to the colon. So, power button's over here. It does not light up or anything special, and you're going to hit 2 to get into the BIOS. Not F2, but just 2. Takes a couple seconds to bring that up. There's the Dell BIOS. Hit 2 a few times, and here it is. It's got the Intel Atom CPU and 272 cores of 1.6 gigahertz, and it looks like it has a 512K cache on each core. So it's not too bad. It is a Phoenix BIOS setup utility. Main tab, advanced, security, boot, which lets you specify your boot order, and then exit. So looks like any other Phoenix BIOS that you'd see. So let's exit and boot Windows XP. This shipped with XP Home on it. I've updated it to, or reinstalled XP Pro Service Pack 3 for my friend, and it is solid state. It's really not that much faster than my 7200 RPM 100 gig drive in my ThinkPad Z series, my Z61. But it is solid state, so you can throw it around a little bit maybe, and it is definitely not going to hurt it, which is always good. Being a netbook, I can hold it with about 2 hands. I'll put my hand at the same distance. You can really see how small this thing is. It's got a 9-inch display, with the screen resolution being 1024 by 600, and I believe it is a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is nice for watching HD content. However, I don't know if the processor is exactly powerful enough to render, but watching should be fine. When I put XP on this, I needed a USB CD or DVD drive. Obviously, they can't really include that in something this small. I mean, it would take up half of the area there. It does have a webcam, 3 megapixels. I will say it's not as good as my 1.3 megapixel camera in my ThinkPad. Typing it's going to take a bit to get used to, I will say. Cap lock's button is microscopic. Same with tab and the shift keys. But if you got used to it, I'm sure you'd have no problems whatsoever. Here are your speakers. Decent, actually really decent sounding speakers. I would note that they are not actually on unless there's sound playing, which sounds kind of stupid, but you can hear when you boot it up, there's a second of crackling before the actual Windows XP or the Windows XP logon sound plays. So not a big deal once you get it going, but it might take a fraction of a second that is noticeable for it to turn that on, probably for battery saving purposes. This big thing here is where the battery is. I would imagine you could probably take that out. I don't know. I don't think that's the battery itself, but just a cover over that. Oh yeah, that is actually the battery, because we could see that. Sorry about that. So anyways, the trackpad here is really just fine. I really like the trackpad. It's almost flush with the rest of it. Really easy to move your fingers on. The buttons are quiet, which is always good on laptops or netbooks. And unlike the Asus EEE PC, they're not on the sides. So it's really easy to get used to and really easy to use. So definitely, I would recommend this as a netbook. I'm not a huge netbook fan. I stick with my ThinkPads. Those are what work for me. But as far as netbooks go, this is one of the best I've used. I have used the HP, whatever that something Note is. I don't remember. That was when it first came out a few months ago. But anyhow, this has been the review of the Dell Mini 9, and I definitely recommend it. And you can go pick one up. They're around $500 with a high configuration, but I believe they start around $300 or $400. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.